Oh, hey, and we're live. Welcome back, everybody, to the After Hours live stream of the Mike Seibert Radio podcast powered by Poddex. I am your host. So glad to be here with you tonight on Monday night. Got a ton of great stuff to talk about tonight and some cool stuff to show off to you, too. But before we get there, I want to remind you that this is a live listener participation based live stream. So if you've got questions or comments as we go, please don't be shy about chiming in. And I will try to address your comments and concerns as best as possible without completely derailing the show. Not that I'm specifically opposed to that, but you get the idea. All right. Well, like I said, we got a whole lot of stuff to do tonight, so let's just kick things off with some shout outs. This is the part where you sing along and you say, shout it, shout it, shout it out loud. For you podcast listeners, you'll get to enjoy Kiss instead. So first and foremost, before I get to anything else, I want to wish a very happy birthday to my good buddy Michael Geisler. He is the mastermind behind Bytor Music. You've heard his music at the beginning and ending of my podcasts, and he's a really good dude and has been a really good friend to me over the years, going all the way back to the KGRG days. So I just wanted to wish him a very happy birthday. And Michael just got himself engaged as well recently. So huge congratulations to Michael and Eve as well. And check out bytormusic.com to see all of Michael's music. He's got a lot of the old These Young Fools stuff archived. I think some of the Flicker and Fade stuff is there as well, but he's got hours of instrumental music that is there for folks to enjoy. And if you're a fan of I guess I would call it heavy prog rock, like Rush or Dream Theater or that kind of type of music style where it's there's a lot of depth and texture to it. Definitely check out Michael's stuff. And again, his website is bytormusic.com. The spelling on that is BYTOR music.com. Let's see. So moving on, I want to talk about an exciting project I was involved in over the weekend. I had the opportunity to once again join the gang from the Unfunny Nerd Tangent podcast, that one run by Greg T of Transformers Reanimated fame. I was a guest with Greg and Tim, and we chatted about a little movie that we never thought was actually ever going to come out, the final film in the Fox X-Men franchise. It's The New Mutants. And one of the reasons why we chose to do it as a podcast is to really kind of unpack, more than anything, whether this movie is as bad as people say that it is. I'm not necessarily going to spoil it here, but we had a really good discussion, and the way I phrased it at the time was that we squeezed more juice out of that lemon than any of us really anticipated. It was a really fun conversation. So check out that episode of Unfunny Nerd Tangent. It is available right now as we speak. I've already tweeted about it earlier in the day. One of the advantages of having a podcaster friend in Australia is that with the time zone changes, by the time I went to bed last night after we recorded, because it's the following morning there where Greg is, the episode was already up. So I thought that was I thought that was pretty cool to be able to share, because you're able to join me on the live stream right now, but you're not going to be able to listen to this until Wednesday when it comes out on the podcast. So anyway, it's always cool kicking it with those dudes, and it was neat to kind of unpack a movie, like I said, that I thought was never actually going to come out. It's a cursed movie. It was a cursed project. I remembered I talked about the New Mutants movie way back in episode 114 of Mike Seibert Radio, back in October of 2017. So over 3 years ago was the first time I talked about the movie. And between reshoots and the acquisition of Fox by Disney, and then of course the Rona, um, they had 5 release date shifts. So the fact that the movie even ever really came out in any fashion is nothing short of a minor miracle. So yeah, so like I said, anyway, check out the episode of Unfunny Nerd Tangent where we talk about the New Mutants. I got a little bit of feedback from last week's podcast where we talked about a number of things. I told you about the latest recording sessions of Transformers Reanimated for a swarm of bumblebees and Food Court Fury, both extensively featuring myself as Bumblebee in those voice recording sessions. But we also talked about the new trailer for the Netflix series, the Transformers War for Cybertron Earthrise. That trailer had just dropped, like, I don't know, maybe like a couple hours before we started recording. And incidentally, huge thanks and a shout out to Apollo for jumping on the live stream with me last week to give an Iacon update. I'm going to talk about Iacon Online a little more in just a couple minutes here, but one of the philosophies that I have, and I've discovered this more times than I'm occasionally comfortable with, but what I have found is that whenever you think nobody is listening or watching, but when you think that nobody is paying attention, somebody is always watching or listening or paying attention. I really butchered that. It's like a fortune cookie phrase that I came up with probably during the KGRG era, and I would tell the students and the new baby DJs that I would help train, it's like, just when you think nobody is listening, somebody is always listening. And in this case, my little podcast drew a little bit of attention. I posted the podcast and said, hey, we talked about the Earthrise trailer. And then FJ DeSanto, who folks might know as the one of the primary writers and showrunners of the Transformers War for Cybertron Netflix series, just typed in a very nice sentence, writes, I enjoyed this. And really, to me, what it says is, yeah, I listened to you talk about your half-baked and partially cooked fan theories about this show. And we actually kind of dialogued a little bit on Facebook. Now, FJ DeSanto does have a bit of a reputation for just messing with people and just it's all in nerve, seems to enjoy interacting with fans and having some of those cool dialogues. So I thanked him for checking out the podcast. But then he writes, and this interactions like this mean the world to me, because it is one thing, and a huge thing, for somebody to say, hey, I listened to your podcast and I really liked it, which again, I mean that means the world to me. But it's another thing for somebody to comment on something specific that was said. In this case, FJ DeSanto asks, though I would like to know where you guys saw Hotlink. Now, Hotlink is one of the Seekers, along with Starscream and Thundercracker, and he's got a Netflix figure, a Netflix branded action figure of his toy. It's a Walmart exclusive. And so he's like, well, where did you see Hotlink? Now, Apollo, who is a huge fan of the Seekers, she had taken a screen grab and posted it on her Twitter like last week, like when after watching the trailer. And it's like, well, yeah, he's right there. And so yeah, she found the screenshot, reposted it, and his only response to that was with like 4 M's. It was pretty funny. And the reason why I bring all of this up, one, to give a shout out to FJ DeSanto for checking out my little podcast, much appreciated. But he brings up something that's that adds a little bit of clarification to something that I had said last week, because like I had thought I understood, perhaps from a misquoted attribution or Mandela effect, or I just straight up misremembered or made something up to fill in the blanks. I'm not entirely sure, but I was under the impression that every toy from the War for Cybertron series was going to be included in the Netflix cartoons, whether it be Siege, Earthrise, or Kingdom. So FJ DeSanto also mentions, oh, guys, just another thing, not every toy from the line is in the series. It's just that every character in the series, with the exception of a few, are all based on the toys, if that makes sense. And for me, that totally makes sense. But and I thanked him for the clarification, but I did tell him that I'm like, well, I'm still holding out hope that Springer still shows up, because that was one of the standout figures in the Generations line for the War for Cybertron Siege toy line. And he tells me, he's like, buddy, lower your expectations regarding Springer, which I had to sad react to that. And there was a little more discourse in the thread. Joe Troutman pipes in and says, I'm kind of sad that we lost Impactor. And FJ replies, I know, but it's one of my favorite scenes, really emotional. And yeah, he's absolutely right. The Impactor scene, and actually really how his characterization was done, it was different than the way we've seen Impactor portrayed before. He's a character that started in the Marvel UK comics for the Transformers, and was very much kind of like this tough guy, almost anti-hero, as part of the Wreckers. And so the choice to make him a Decepticon, one of the bad guys in the Netflix cartoon, was an interesting choice. And then, well, I was first. I do this all the time, and I owe you an apology. I do the thing where I'm going to say something, and then I stop myself and I say, well, spoilers. Then I'm doing the mental gymnastics to say, well, wait a second. The first series of War for Cybertron Siege, that's been up for months. Plenty of spoilers out there. It's not a huge spoiler for me to say, oh yeah, Impactor turns into an Autobot and then dies. Spoilers, sorry about that. But it always cracks me up how I litigate that especially when I'm in a live situation. I'll be like, oh, hey, well, let me, yeah, no, maybe maybe I shouldn't say that after all. Anyway, it just kind of cracks me up there. Um, so I also, speaking of Transformers, and I mentioned this earlier, I did want to give a little bit of an update on Iacon Online. Now, I've been uh talking about this new online streaming Transformers fan convention for the last several weeks. I'm one of the organizers. I'm the I guess at a time where we have specific roles. My role is in promotions. I'm the promoter, and through that I'm kind of like a media liaison. I guess I'm really trying to make myself sound way more important than I actually am, but I've been talking about it on the podcast. I have hosted several of my friends on the planning committee for Iacon Online, and I wanted to talk about something that we've got really cool coming up next weekend. So mark your calendars for next weekend, Saturday, the December 19th, and then Sunday. Excuse me, a little bit of a bubble guts there for a sec. I shouldn't have crushed my entire sesame salad, my Asian sesame salad, like right before I went live. I I put out a vague tweet earlier where I got done with work a little earlier and got some of my equipment set up a little earlier than I was anticipating. I was like, oh, well, at this pace, I might actually go live earlier than 8 o'clock. Well, as you know, when you tuned in at 8 o'clock, that didn't happen. But I was able to start right at 8 though. So I got that going for me, which is nice, hashtag goals. But so I get to a point where I'm like, well, this is it. Maybe I'm at a spot where I can just go live right now. And right about then I got a little bit of tummy gurgle, just like, and I'm like, oh, that's right. I haven't eaten anything for like a while. So I had a salad in the fridge. I made that all up, crushed it real quick, like while I was doing some internet stuff. And then by the time I got done with that, it was 8 o'clock, and it was time to start the show. So I don't know why I bring any of that up. Maybe just to say, creative folks get very hyper focused on things, and self-care is like the first thing that goes out the window. So don't forget to eat, don't forget to drink, and just take care of yourself. End of PSA. I guess that's my advice for the week. But no, back to Iacon Online. I wanted to let you know about two exciting live streams that we've got coming up this weekend that will be hosted by me. So it will be part of the Mike Seibert Radio podcast live stream, but there will be afternoon live stream, so you don't have to wait until the sun goes down and it gets dark. So on Saturday the 19th, we are going to do a little bit of promotion for the cosplay contest and maybe do a little bit of revealing. But speaking of reveals, we are also going to reveal a new team member of the Iacon team. And I am going to share my screen real quick. And I am going to, it's funny. I was going to say that old meme. I don't know which memes are old and which ones aren't, but I'm in my own okay boomer Gen Xer kind of way of meme culture. I'm at least familiar with the "who's that Pokemon" meme. So we've got a little bit of that going on here. You've seen on the Icon online social media channels for like the last week or so, there is a new team member that is preparing for deployment. And then on this Saturday, the 19th of December, we are going to reveal this new team member, and we're incredibly excited. It's just one of those things that came up organically as we were discussing. It's like, well, what if we had a mascot? And some really talented folks on the art team just took the idea, grabbed it, and ran with it. And I have seen the unsilhouetted version, and I'm really excited for you to meet them and to get acquainted with the Icon online mascot. So, and we're going to talk cosplay as well. So again, that is going to be on Saturday, December 19th. That online stream is going to be starting at 3 p.m. Pacific time. So wherever you're listening to, make sure that you do the time conversion appropriately. I'm here in Seattle, so I'm on the West Coast, Pacific time. So that's going to start at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And that I'm going to do that basically like right as soon as the Bad Religion show ends. That starts at 2 Pacific, and last week's show ended like right around 3, so it should be right about the same time. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Now, I also mentioned that there are going to be 2 live streams this weekend, one on Saturday, but we're also going to do a Sunday matinee show, a Sunday Mike Seibert Radio live stream that is going to start at 2 p.m. So an hour earlier than the Saturday show. And on the Sunday live stream, for Icon Online, we are going to be joined by members of the Icon organization team. There's a couple folks that may or may not be able to join us, so I don't want to necessarily drop names just in case that name I happen to drop doesn't make it, and that way everything's still all good. But that live stream starts at 2 p.m. on Sunday, December 20th. And this is the one where we're going to start doing some guest reveals. We have some guests that are lined up and excited to participate. We might be able to reveal some programming. There are a handful of panels that we're really excited about and have not been able to discuss because of NDAs and things like that, non-disclosure agreements. And but behind the scenes, it's been some really cool, exciting stuff. So we're really really excited to finally be able to reveal something to you other than, well, there's some really cool, fun stuff coming up. And there is cool, fun stuff coming up, but I do want to remind you, as you may have seen on the Icon online social channels, that Saturday, December 19th, the day of the first live stream where we are going to reveal the brand new member of the Icon online team, that is your last day to apply for Artist Alley, the cosplay contest, and panel submissions. So I have had personal discussions with some friends of mine, sometimes more gently than others, encouraging them to apply for either Artist Alley or do panel submissions. I have I have at least a few friends that that again, I'm leaning really hard on to try to get them to do some panel programming. Some folks that have a lot of history in the fandom, some folks that have really cool, unique takes on things, and it's just cool to get different voices involved. And so I want to remind you that Icon Online is a not-for-profit, fan-organized online Transformers event. We are accepting panelists, cosplayers, and Artist Alley submissions. You can go to the website iacononline.wordpress.com for all the information, including at this point, really robust FAQ section for all those frequently asked questions, as well as connections to the social channels. So Icon Online is on Twitter and Tumblr and Facebook and Instagram. The handles for all of those are at Iacon Online. The spelling on that is IACONONLINE. I got it right this time. Maybe because I had it in front of me and I had the opportunity to read it, but check out the website. There's the frequently asked questions section. There's the application section for Artist Alley, panel submissions, and cosplay. And then visit the website occasionally for updates after the application period ends. We'll review the panel submissions and start solidifying the schedule. And yeah, I would imagine that just after Christmas, just after New Year's, before January, or I'm sorry, in January, things are really going to start cooking and things are going to get really exciting really fast. And one last reminder that Icon Online is on January 30th and 31st. I think of all the things that I mentioned, I think I kind of forgot to mention that. So, and keep an eye on their social channels. Don't forget that you can set up notifications, so whenever you get I lost my train of thought. So I follow Iacon Online on Twitter, for example. You can turn on notifications for the social accounts and subscribe to their website so you never miss an update. That was the part I was trying to get out there, but I kind of forgot. All right, so I'm just going to do some tweeting here for a sec. Join us. All right. Let's see who is next. So Apollo chimes in on the chat. You don't want to miss out on participating in the event if you are a Transformers fan. And I would like to think that if you are listening to the podcast and watching us here on the live stream, you're at least somewhat of a Transformers fan. All right. Well, it is time. It worked for show and tell. I forgot to hit the button I had earlier when I transitioned into shout outs. But I was working with some of the Icon Online folks over the weekend, kind of going through this, kind of online streaming platforms and some of the things that we can do. And one of the things that I enjoy the most about teaching and coaching is that I get the opportunity to learn stuff because, as we're asking questions and going through stuff, I was like, oh, well, let's try that. Oh, hey, that kind of works. So yeah, so I'm doing some goofy new stuff with Restream and kind of using it in different ways that I hadn't thought to earlier. But anyway, it is time for show and tell. All right. So in this segment of the show, I do exactly what the Chiron says. I show you things and I tell you about them. I have a couple things I want to show off this week. First is so I got some mail. I got a flat mailer envelope. I'm trying to flex it in such a way that you don't see my address. Oh, there it is. So if you screen cap it really quick, you can figure out my address. So we're going to go ahead and open this up. As you can see, I have already taken the tape off and I've opened this to see what it is. But part of the reason why I do show and tell is so that I can kind of show off packaging, which is something that I like. But anyway, so we're gonna open this guy up here, and as you can see, it's a multi-level mailer cardboard thing there. You'll see that inside there is a graphic novel, and my dumb Chiron is now blocking it, and I'm holding it upside down. But we have the graphic novel that I have talked about for a handful of months. It was a Kickstarter. This is Maybe Someday, Stories of Promise, Visions of Hope. We talked about this back during the summer when I had Tyler Chintanner on to talk about this book. This is the new anthology from A Wave Blue World, and this happens to be the Kickstarter version of the cover, but the retail version, if I'm remembering correctly, is on stands as we speak. So you should be able to go to your local comic shop and pick up a copy of Maybe Someday. It is a thick book. It is a handsome book full of all kinds of hopeful stories. So this is a sequel of sorts to the anthology they did last year called All We Ever Wanted, Stories of a Better World. And basically what it was kind of a answer to, for lack of a better term, the times that we're in. And like, so it was coming out of the some of the angst from 2016 into 2017, and with the administration and kind of the just the general feeling of dread and angst. And it was a really good book. It was science fiction stories that are more utopia in nature. So I remember when I talked to Matt Miner, one of the editors and writers on the book, more or less the way that we kind of put it in a nutshell was more utopia, less dystopia, more Star Trek, less Mad Max, that kind of thing. Because it came from a place of being burnt out on kind of awful futures. Now that's not to say that the stories are all happy endings or things like that. I mean, there's still conflict in a utopia. Again, Star Trek. But that was a really good book. So I was very happy and eager to support their Kickstarter this year for Maybe Someday. Now, Maybe Someday, Stories of Promise, Visions of Hope is similar to All We Ever Wanted, except that it expands the concept even further from utopian futures to now we're going to alternate dimensions, alternate timelines, different dimensions, as well as utopian futures. And I have not had the opportunity to read any of the stories yet, but I'm really eager to and really excited to to get into it. But anyway, it was a book I was excited to support, and I'm glad that I got my exclusive Kickstarter version with this just this incredible Max Dunbar cover there. That was one of the first pieces of art that I remember when I had Tyler Chintanner from A Wave Blue World on my show. He got me an early sneak peek of the cover, and I was like, oh, this tells me everything I need to know about this book just based on the cover. I mean, you got an eager explorer person on some kind of hover airship thing, and dolphins swimming by. So that's again, I think, like, for a visual shorthand, that really kind of encapsulates what this book is all about. After I read it, I will come back and say more about it. I kind of did a skim through now. I've supported a bunch of Kickstarter comics before, and one of the things that I tell folks is I like supporting Kickstarter comics so that I can get my name in the book. Just literally out of vanity, that, like, I just like to see Mike Seibert. So it's in there somewhere. I haven't found it yet, but I am confident that it's there. The reason why I wanted to do the packaging reveal, because I think this is the third book that I've supported on Kickstarter for A Wave Blue World. Yes, it was All We Ever Wanted, Deadbeats, and now Maybe Someday. But they ship the comics, the graphic novels, in just like these really cool mailers that seem to protect the comic very well, and is kind of a way to store it when I'm bringing it in to talk about it on a live stream. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about for show and tell is well, no, I don't want to show that because that's got my address on it. But I received a envelope from my good buddy artist Stan. Now, you might remember Stan. I interviewed him a couple months here on the podcast, and he's done pixel art. He's also done kind of like a digital painting type aesthetic. And most recently, he's done some chibi style of the Transformers characters, specifically originally spurned on by the announcement of the Studio Series 86 line of Transformers characters, obviously talking about the characters from the Transformers, the movie, 1986. So he started with that, and then now he's kind of expanded to some of the other characters. But he sent me a letter, and within it is I'm just making sure I got my camera lined up here. So he sends me a letter, and I'll read this in just a sec, but he sends me two pieces of art. One is a photo print of everybody's favorite Cassette Man. I mean, look at him. That's dope. And it's hard to tell, but oh, there it is. He autographed it. So this is Stan Cho's original art, printed on glossy photo paper. It looks great. And also, I mentioned this earlier, and this was something that really caught my eye, is I got a little chibi Soundwave. And see if my camera can adjust there. Oh, it's still a little blurry. I don't know anything about cameras. I'm an audio guy. But anyway, so it's a trading card size of Chibi Soundwave. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it's Chibi Soundwave, and he's got a bunch of adorable Ravages next to him there. So it's kind of got the holographics foil, and I I love this dude's art, and I also like that he's not confined to one particular style. I mean, like, he does all kinds of different stuff. I mean, again, like, these pieces of even like the same character, oh, it's gonna lose it again. Are vastly different, but it's all the Cassette Man, and I really enjoy it. And he's got the Decepticon logo on the back as well. So anyway, so he sends me this letter, and he has this handwritten part in the corner, and says, "Mike, hope you like the Soundwave card. Happy holidays!" Exclamation point from Stan. But in this larger letter, this is he's been doing giveaways recently of these cards, and so basically he sent this letter with it, and it reads, "Congratulations, you have received a handmade one-of-a-kind print from Artist Stan. Hello, fellow retro robot fan. It is my pleasure to give you this gift of one dated and numbered 2.5 by 3.5 art print." Oh yeah, that is dated. I just now noticed that. It doesn't come up on the I'm gonna stop doing that. Anyway, so there are many different kinds of art prints. No two are alike because they are handmade. Some unique features are a foil edge, blue, red, green, silver, or gold. In this case, it's red. Um, Full art with foil back, blue, red, green, silver, or gold. This doesn't appear to have that. Or a full art without foil back. This is a sticker, and more to come. When you receive this, I encourage you to share a pic on social media and tag me. I would appreciate it very much. And he lists his social channels. Also, he is on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Artist Stan, all one word, ArtistStan. I almost did an icon again. But anyway, Artist Stan, all one word. And then he is on YouTube under his name, Stan Cho, StanChou. And also there's a disclaimer reminder that these cards are not endorsed by Hasbro or any Transformers license holders. And I figure since I'm showing them on a video, I should read that as well. These cards have no value and are not for profit and in no way officially associated with the Transformers brand. So there you go. So yeah, so Artist Stan, good guy. Check out his stuff. And for more insight into his various styles of art, you can go back and check out my interview with Artist Stan. Not only did we talk about his art, but we also talked about Transformers the movie for a really long time, to the point where it's funny. It was one of my first live streams. I think we did it either on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon. I don't remember which, but alls I know is that, like, so he was on video, and as the time went on, we talked for like 3.5 hours or something like that. But you can see it getting progressively darker, and to the point by the time we finished the interview, it was so dark where he was to where I couldn't see him. I could hear him, and we could talk and interact, but it was yeah, no, it just cracked me up because he was gone. All right, so now it's time to find out what's in the box. I shouldn't shake it like that. Why am I doing that? I know what's in the box, but I wanted to start off by kind of showing off the box, in that it's as you can tell, it's got a little bit of dino damage on it. And so yeah, I don't know if it's just equipped with crumple zones or whatever, but it looks like it took a header out of a truck. Hopefully the contents inside aren't damaged, but yeah, let's take a look. All right, so yeah, cut this guy open here, live on the live stream. I'm hoping that somebody somewhere finds this entertaining. Oh yeah, don't look at my address. Actually, you know what? I shouldn't be so shy about like, oh hey, don't look at my address, because like, what are you gonna do? Be like Artist Stan and send me something? Because that would be dope. I like it when I get sent stuff. So all right, let's see what I could do to get this this here box open without damaging the goods inside. All right, we're gonna put my letter opener away there. That has a story. I'm not going to tell it tonight, but remind me to tell the story of my letter opener. just in case my boss or somebody from my work is still here. All right. So anyway, so here's the box. It's got some bubble pockets in it, and I was supposed to turn it so that you can see it while I open it up. Oh man, it's a Back to the Future. All right, so this is, oh man, that is cool. All right, so this is the Transformers Back to the Future crossover collaborative figure, Gigawatt. And it's in celebration of Back to the Future's 35th anniversary. It's the one of the collaborative collections to go along with the Top Gun Maverick figure or the Ghostbusters Ectotron figure. And yeah, just looking at it now, I've man, I remember when I was a kid, when like just like this style of packaging, like it would have, the Autobot cars, like Sideswipe and Wheeljack and Blue Streak and all of those dudes. And I tell you what, holding this here now really does kind of bring back that nostalgia. I'm not going to open them up right now because I don't want to mess with it, but I can't wait to get this guy open and play with him. From what I understand, he's really fun, really intuitive. He is speaking of Sideswipe, it's my understanding that that this figure Gigawatt is a heavy retooling of War for Cybertron Sideswipe, and you can definitely see that in his body style there, which is fine. If you can graft some Back to the Future bits on Sideswipe and make him a unique figure, that's this is really cool. This is really cool. I'm really glad I bought this, because I was I was actually kind of on the fence whether I wanted to get this guy or not. But then I realized, and maybe this is just I don't know, Generation X existential dread or whatever you want to call it, but I've lived long enough to where I'm seeing things that I always imagined and dreamt about and hoped for when I was a kid, but never thought that they would actually happen. So, Back to the Future is a huge movie for folks my age. Well, actually, folks of any age. It's an all-time classic. But being into Transformers at the same time, the imagination always gets aroused to like, well, wouldn't it be cool if there was a time machine DeLorean action figure that was a Transformer? And it took 35 years, but it's him. He's here. So a couple things I wanted to talk about with this guy. So let's talk about the name. Okay, so it's a Gigawatt or Gigawatt, or it's interesting because like I find myself on the okay boomer side of the pronunciation debate with regards to, is it GIF, is it GIF, And I've always been kind of grouchy about it, saying like, well, because like it's my understanding that the um person that created the I can't call it one or the other. I'm going to call it a gift because that's why I call it. Anyway, the person that invented the damn thing said, no, it's GIF. And immediately my hackles go up because it's like, well, just because you say that that's what it is doesn't mean that that's what that is. I didn't go to see a movie called Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, for example, you know, kind of dying on that hill. But then you got this guy, and I don't call him Gigawatt, I call him Gigawatt. So that is an example of where the G becomes a J sound. And I realized that very recently when, you know, with regards to talking about this figure, and I was just like, God damn it. You know, I often wear my hypocrisy on my sleeve, and I think this is one of those occasions. But anyway, this dude is really cool. I'm again, I'm really glad I threw down for him. I can't wait to get the package open and start playing with him. But you know, I am definitely keeping this box because this is super cool. Incidentally, to answer a question you didn't ask is I didn't get Ectotron and I didn't get Maverick. I'm just not that huge into either of those franchises, and I don't want to be provocative and throw shade, but I think that that Maverick figure looks pretty dumb. It's not for me. If it's your thing, you know, live and let live. Same thing with Ectotron. Like I love that it's a thing that exists. I love that it's a thing that they did and that it looks as cool as it does. It's a really solid Ecto 1 vehicle mode, and the robot mode is totally okay. Um, just like this guy is totally okay. Is it the most ideal robot mode that we would have liked? Maybe, maybe not. But it's fine. I, you know, I don't have anything bad to say about it, but I'm I'm not a huge Ghostbusters guy, and that kind of raises some eyebrows in my peer group sometimes. It's like, well, wait. And I think I don't know if I just saw it too late. Like I was I was old enough to be into Ghostbusters 2. In fact, I think I probably prefer Ghostbusters 2. Now, Ghostbusters 1 is the better movie. So, you know, hold your tweets. Don't well, actually you can come at me in the comments. Chat's kind of slow tonight. So, but yeah, if you want to come at me, bro, about the about Ghostbusters, that's totally fine. What else was I talking about there? Anyway, you get the idea. I got distracted because I'm looking at Twitter, looking to see if like maybe I'm missing missing chats. But I'm not, but I do see see a little bit of discourse going on. Let me see. I lost my notes for a sec. Okay, so yeah, so that's show and tell. Before I get into what I'm watching and get ready to wrap up the show, I do want to go over some discourse that's going on over Twitter. Now, this I wasn't going to talk about this tonight, but I just happened to go back to my Twitter to check notifications. And one of the stories that broke earlier today, was trending on Twitter all day, is that Zack Snyder has revealed that his Justice League is likely to get an R rating due to violence and profanity. Quote unquote, there is one scene where Batman drops an F-bomb. And that's So that's kind of being widely reported. And my dude Greg, who I was just talking about earlier, Unfunny Nerd Tangent, he quote tweets the story and says, "Why does he even want to do Justice League? He can't enjoy the characters since his versions are essentially in name only." I tweeted back to him shortly before we went live, and one of Zack Snyder's I'm sorry, one of Zack Snyder's quotes is that his movies are for grown-ups, despite the fact that this movie for grown-ups is a movie in which grown adult people run around in costumes. Um, no matter how you slice it, doesn't matter how much swearing and violence that's that's inherently juvenile. And I think self-awareness isn't necessarily Zack Snyder's strongest suit. So anyway, so Greg responds to that. You can do adult superhero stories. Watchmen is the perfect example of which Snyder made a good movie. I agree with that. But adding the word fuck doesn't make something better or edgy. I agree with Greg there. I think that's just edgy for the sake of being edgy. From the Autopod Decepticast, Ryan chimes in and says, "I don't think Snyder understands or even likes comic books, despite what he says." Now, my dude Jeremy from the Transmissions podcast, who I know is a huge DC Comics fan. I don't happen to remember off the top of my head how he feels about the DC extended universe movies as a whole, but I do know he's huge into the comics. So Jeremy writes, Watchmen is a deconstruction of the superhero genre. It has its place, and Snyder did a good movie of it. Again, I agree. He has no place making movies with the bright, optimistic heroes of DC. I don't believe he understands these characters and what makes them work. I agree with all that. I am going to like those tweets because I agree. Let me check Facebook real quick and see if there's, because sorry, I'm stalling because I one of the things with the oh, with my Restream application is that it's supposed to collate the chats, and I think I just don't have any chats. So I was just happening to check really quick. Um okay. So I am going to put that away because I don't think there are any chats that I've missed, and we will go ahead and move on to our final segment, what I'm watching. Let's see. So this is a conversation I teased last week and didn't get the opportunity to get to it because we were talking so much about Icon Online and wanting to get those updates out there. And I'm actually glad I waited a week because the conversation I want to have here now is about spoilers and specifically spoilers for The Mandalorian, which is just killing it over on the Plus on Disney Plus, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But you know, I I just I don't know how the best way to navigate spoiler culture is, because I mean, like, several folks that are more insightful than me have spoken on the topic. Um, what I have discovered, though, specifically with Mandalorian and specifically this season, is that um, I think a large portion of the audience stays up late to watch the episode as soon as it drops at midnight. Now, what I don't know, I'm sure I could look into it, but I don't know if those episodes drop at midnight local time or if it's midnight Eastern time. So like for example, I'm on the West Coast, I'm on Pacific time. So does that mean I can watch it at 9 p.m., which would be midnight Eastern, or do I have to wait until midnight Pacific? I don't have that answer because regardless, I'm in bed because I work for a living and I get up very early on Friday morning for my job. But speaking of, I by 6 o'clock in the morning, so I get to work right around 5:30, and I log onto my computer, and because of some of the things I do for work, I need to have a foot in social media. Arguably, I don't need to be as into social media as I am, but every Friday morning, I get all of the full spoilers for Mandalorian. And that has happened with every episode of this season, including the episode from 2 weeks ago. And lost my train of thought again. So the episode from 2 weeks ago, I don't know how else to say it. I'm just gonna blurt it out. He's back. Boba Fett is back, and I don't know if I knew that Boba Fett was going to return in that episode. We had seen a cloaked figure at the end of the first episode of the new season, and it was pretty odds on favorite that was going to be Boba Fett. But then in that episode, he shows up. I'm not going to describe the plot because I'm sure you've been spoiled already, and that was one of the components I wanted to talk about is when is it okay to spoil and when isn't it? Because I've discovered that Disney will put out their promotional images typically on Monday. So the following Monday, there was a poster from Disney Plus of Boba Fett as he appeared in the episode. So I guess for me, once the actual company puts out promotional imagery, that seems to be when the spoiler embargo ends. But the story I wanted to tell last week is that Friday morning I come in and the first thing I see, I'm not even exaggerating. Like the first thing I saw when I opened up my Twitter was a full video of the sequence where Boba Fett returns. And of course I watched it. And I absolutely loved it. I mean, just lost my mind. Actually, kind of like lost my concentration on my work for a minute because of just like, oh my gosh, did that really happen? Is this really happening? And it was fine. It's I found once I actually watched the episode, it was still incredibly rewarding. I still really enjoyed it. Having that spoiler there didn't really ruin my enjoyment. Now, would it have been cool to have that moment not spoiled and to just see it? Yeah, probably. But I tell you, as a lifelong fan of the Fett, I've been a fan of Boba Fett as long as I can remember. He has always been one of my favorite characters. But like even even as the sequence is happening on the TV as we're watching that episode of Mandalorian, I I I squeezed my wife's hand. I was just like, it's happening. And so I'm not going to describe it here because either you've seen it or you haven't. Um, but a couple things I want to say on it though is that oh, let me see. A couple things. I kind of in a way to take back the spoiler-ness of it. I'm phrasing this all wrong. The original video that I found that that spoiled me, I found it, downloaded that video, and then this last weekend I don't video editing is not my first best strength, but I dabble. So I took the video from the tweet and then I added the Alice Cooper song called He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask from Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, because there's a lot of vibe between Boba Fett and Jason Voorhees, like especially now that Tamora Morrison has come back. He's older. He carries a lot of bulk with the Boba Fett character, and because of the way he moves, I was getting some real serious Jason vibes in a good way. Where he's just kind of like slowly stalking his prey, and I loved it. But anyway, I just thought that was a really cool song pairing to pair Boba Fett, the return of Boba Fett, with He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask. And so yeah, I put that video up, and it's gotten like 2,000 views on Twitter. I think it's since been pulled from Facebook. I put it up there first. They tagged me for having the Alice Cooper song, and then later Disney tagged it also and said, yeah, this video belongs to Disney. So I am sure that fan-made video that I made, that is totally not for profit and just for funsies, is long gone from Facebook. But anyway, I did this goofy little fan video, and it was a lot of fun. But what it means to me, and it's interesting, I'm sure you've seen a lot of tweets about this, is that I don't know. I think being a fan of Boba Fett is one of those weird postmodern type of things. Now, what I mean by that is, like, when I was a kid, I was a fan just because he was cool looking. And then as time went on, I was a fan of him because there was so much mystery surrounding him and so much mystique. And then later I was a fan because so much material was made about him, comic books, novels, toys, action figures, things like that, to the point where I would say that there was probably a time in the late 90s where Boba Fett was more popular than Darth Vader. And then there was another time where it was Boba Fett was kind of passe. It wasn't cool to like Boba Fett because he's, so overrated and, so popular for no reason. It's like, he has like 3 lines and they get hit by Han Solo with a stick and falls into a hole in the sand. It's like I've heard all that, and I've never said that any of that stuff is untrue. I just like the character. Well, what do you like about him? Well, I like that he's cool looking. Well, that's not a character trait. I mean, I've had these arguments, and so I've never, well, not never, but over the last several years, I've, I kind of just kind of keep it to myself. I'm not like, I obviously you see more of me in Transformers fandom than Star Wars, and certainly not Boba Fett. But if you go to my house, you will see that I have way more Boba Fett stuff than anything. I have more just Boba Fett stuff than any of my Transformers stuff. Because again, he's cool looking, and I've just I've just always been enamored with the character. So what his return means to me is a certain degree of validation, a certain degree of vindication. At a time we were going to get a Back to the Future Transformer, I had kind of lost hope. Now, hope isn't the right way to put it, but we've never seen Boba Fett be as awesome on screen that we've all imagined him being until The Mandalorian. And it's 90 seconds of 40 years of pent up fan service, to the point where I don't know, I guess my hottest take on The Mandalorian is that it's fan service done right. I think it made a lot of fans very happy. And I've seen folks tweet about this as well. You know, all of like the insufferable Boba Fett fans are just going to become that much more insufferable. And yes, you're right. Because now we have evidence to show how badass and how cool the character of Boba Fett actually is. And it's more than I ever would have hoped to ask for. And that seems kind of silly for talking about like a 90-second action sequence in a half-hour show. But I'm at a certain age, and I've talked about this a lot on the podcast before, but I'm to the age where like that stuff touches me on a deeper level than I don't know if it would have if I was half the age I am now. Like, you know, if I had seen this when I was in my 20s, I don't think I would have cared. Well, not that I wouldn't have cared, but to where it's like, to the point where it's like I'm watching this and I'm just like, buddy, you know, it's like it touches me in my soul. For you know, I mean, not to be too hyperbolic about it, but yeah, no, it really truly meant something to me. And again, it's just an example of giving fans what they want and giving them something that they didn't expect. After doing a full season of Mandalorian and seeing that Boba Fett isn't there, it's like, okay, I'm content to throw in with this new character. I'm cool with that. Mandalorian has really grown on me. He's a cool character and it's a great show. And then you give me the man. You give me the real guy. So I did something that I haven't done in a really long time. Like I used to do this with my Twitter account years ago, in that like I would change my avatar to something that's not my face. And so on my Facebook, I changed my profile pic to Boba Fett from that episode of Mandalorian, and I just put, it's him, he's here. And yeah, that just to express how excited I am about it. But I'm rambling too much about this at this point, but I wanted to close out on one thing, because like to that Facebook post, my aunt, well, I forget how did, oh, okay. So my uncle isn't on Facebook, but my aunt is, and they both know how much I'm into Boba Fett. Like, I mentioned that I have a lot of Boba Fett stuff. A lot of it is from them. But anyway, so my uncle via my aunt asked me, how is Disney going to explain Boba Fett's survival or escaping the Sarlacc pit? And I think that's a great question, but my hottest take, my most controversial answer is I don't think they are. And I don't think they have to. You can do that story in any number of ancillary media. A novel, a comic book, a video game. I don't think the narrative of the Mandalorian TV show needs to be weighted down with how did Boba Fett get out of that sand pit. I just I in the 90s there was a one of the first Star Wars comic series from Dark Horse Comics called Dark Empire. Boba Fett shows up, and it's a huge reveal. It's like, whoa, Boba Fett. And Han Solo asks him, he's like, how did you escape? And he has this badass line, and he says, well, the Sarlacc found me somewhat indigestible. And that was it. That was the only explanation in that series. And the reason why I say you can do this stuff in comic books and novels and video games is because that's where they've done it already. I've read, I want to say, a half dozen different versions about how Boba Fett gets out of the Sarlacc pit. And again, as I was talking about with regards to my age, I think I'm also at an age where I don't care. I'll just I can, for the sake of nostalgia and plot, I can just accept it's him. He's here. And there's obviously enough toll taken on him. Like he spends a good chunk of that episode running around unmasked. So you get to see Tamura Morrison in scar makeup. So obviously something has happened to him, and then obviously the degradation of his armor. Like where the paint is basically gone. And maybe at some other point when I have a little more time, because I really need to think about wrapping this up. But one of these times I would like to talk about how some of my childhood, teenage dreams and visions of like the Boba Fett character have kind of sort of came true. Real quick. So like I remember when I was hanging out with some of my friends, and I said explicitly, because we were talking about like, would we want to see a Boba Fett movie? And I was like, that would be cool, but what you do is you do it as a Western. And I remember saying that back in like 1997 when I was 17 years old. And I think I even said, it's like, it would be even cooler than doing Boba Fett as a Western is to do it as a Western TV show. I'm not saying that Jon Favreau stole my idea, but I've also, just in my goofy fan art musings, I had imagined a version of Boba Fett's armor that was all chrome. Now you see Mandalorian, and he's shiny and chrome. I also I at one time, and again, I swear I'm not trying to take credit for any of this. I'm just sharing my dumb shower thoughts with you. But I also I remember this was specifically spurned on Lucky and I had watched a show. It wasn't Dog the Bounty Hunter, but it was some other modern day bounty hunter person who's basically just like a bail bondsman but he was a he was a heavier set person. Tom Evangelista, I think was his name. Anyway, he's like this Hollywood bounty hunter. And so he had a kind of a look that was very similar to Jango Fett. Tamara Morrison, being a New Zealander, had a very similar look to him. Kind of like exotic ethnic type of appearance. But anyway, he kind of looked like, because he was like heavier set and older, but still like um just cut. It was he was bigger, but it was muscle. Just a big dude. And anyway, I kind of envisioned that that's what old Boba Fett would look like, and that his armor would be so degraded to the point where the paint was barely recognizable. Sure enough, and this was like in the mid 2000s, but yeah, sure enough, then Boba Fett shows up, and like all of the paint is worn off of his armor, and I was just like, how is it that the Disney company can like steal these ideas straight from my brain? It is so crazy. Now, one that hasn't quite happened is I also kind of did a design in my high school sketchbook of kind of like a Boba Fett TIE fighter pilot type of thing, where it's more of a flight suit with light armor. That look hasn't quite happened yet, but in the most current episode of Mandalorian, he has spoilers, and it's not really a spoiler because Disney has put out the still photos and poster images, is that Boba Fett gets a new paint job on his armor, and his bodysuit, instead of the traditional khaki or gray, is black. And I think with the fresh paint, it really pops. More or less, they have found a way to, and I swear, I don't know if it's the Hasbro connection or whatever, but like, I talk about Transformers a lot, in that the main goal of Transformers is to sell toys. Same thing with Star Wars. Like back in 1977, George Lucas knew that this was going to be a merchandising juggernaut, and we've been awash in Star Wars toys ever since. My point being is that they've always tried to find a way to make more Boba Fett figures, but there's only a couple different variations. Like there's the version that he looks like in Empire Strikes Back. There's a version of him in Return of the Jedi. There are some subtle differences, enough to where in certain circles, if you say the same, you'll get into a letter opener fight with somebody. But now, within the span of 2 weeks, we've gotten 2 more versions of Boba Fett for them to make action figures of, and I'm going to buy those. Now, I I'm not really a cosplayer. In a lot of ways, that's not my craft skill, but also, quite frankly, my body type. I'm a fat old guy. My characters are kind of limited, but I would be lying to you if I didn't say that after seeing Tamara Morrison return as Boba Fett, that's um, cosplay goals for folks that look like me. So I think I will leave that there. The news that I didn't get to is the whole the slew of Disney reveals. I'm already a little bit over time, so I don't have time to get into it. But I guess the main thing that I wanted to say about the Disney reveals for Investor Day is that I don't understand why Disney announced so much content to where I feel bad for any flavor of entertainment journalists, whether it is podcasters or whatever, folks that are in the pop culture space, because there's um a dozen Marvel projects, a dozen Star Wars projects, a dozen Pixar projects. It's like, I mean, I would imagine, I didn't count it. I have the article from Vulture here, but I'm not going to go through it now. Don't have the time. But I mean, there's conservatively at least 50 new Disney projects that were announced in one swoop on this investor day, which was like a event for I guess investors. That sounds dumb. I don't know who this presentation was for. I know the event was focused on the company's direct to consumer streaming services, so it's more or less saying like, hey, this is why Disney Plus is rad, this is why Hulu is rad, that kind of thing, just pelting investors with content. But like, a lot of the Marvel MCU stuff had trailers. A lot of the Star Wars stuff had trailers. And yeah, we'll just have to unpack that in a different episode. One last thing in the chat. Shar chimed in. Boba Fett was my favorite Star Wars character since I was a kid, and I am 100% with you there. Boba Fett lives. And that will do it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. And if you want to listen to my podcast, Mike Seibert Radio, and all of my past shows, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can check out the full show archive out on SoundCloud. 5 years and over 300 episodes worth of podcasts out there. And come on back for the After Hours live stream Monday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific time on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. Like, share, rate, and review the show. Let us know what you like and what you'd like to hear more of in the future. Mike Seibert Radio is powered by Poddex for Mike Seibert Radio. My name is Mike, and until next time, wear a mask, wash your hands, and make good choices. Good night.